Hey guys, it's Bruce here. So I just had to make a scene at the supermarket. I didn't want to, but I figure I gotta put my money where my mouth is on this whole mask situation. So I just walked in without a mask, grabbed some stuff, got halfway through the store, and then some guy by the deli confronts me and asks, "Sir, do you have a mask?" I'm like, "Nope." and and then follows it up, and I told him, I'm not doing the mask BS anymore. And they said, all right, well, we're not going to ring you up. So, I pushed it all the way. I went to the cashier, and I'm standing there in line. Everybody's, of course, masked up. And meanwhile, it's starting to make a scene, and so a couple, guys come over there, and they're like, we're not going to ring you up, this thing and that thing. And I'm like, fine, I'm going to take my business elsewhere, eventually. And so storm out, yelling, I'm not doing the mask BS anymore. So, and of course, they took the whole self-righteous attitude about it. But this is the only way that we're going to put a stop to the continued encroachment against our rights, is to just finally put our foot down. And I feel that the whole mask thing it's so useless. We already know from the science. We already know from the Danish mask study that the leading science journals, the top 3 leading science journals, the Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, and the JAMA, Journal of the AMA, all refused to publish the Danish mask study, the first funded study of the effectiveness of mask usage against COVID-19. And of course, there was all this pressure and politics around publishing the study. But of course, what did it end up showing? The masks have almost no effectiveness. And so now we're already seeing the discussion around the vaccine passport, this passport ID card. I mean, this is just going to keep going until we eventually put our feet down, So that's how I feel about it personally, and that's what I advocate. I just advocate going into these big box retailers without the mask and just force the issue. If anything, you put your mask on and do what you got to do, but in other cases, in my case, I'm forcing the issue. I'm just going to say I'm going to take my business elsewhere. This has gone far enough. It's 2021. We're really going to bring this into the new year. This mask psyop that's just going to run as a cover for all these other agendas. I don't think so. But one individual doesn't have a whole lot of power. This kind of thing has to be done in mass, and it's just hard when people are isolated to force the whole issue. And then when you're slapped with propaganda day in and day out, it becomes easy to actually believe what you're being told from the mainstream media, from the official narratives. And you have to do real research if you're going to find out what's really happening in this day and age. It's just, there's more psyops and propaganda than there is reality. And that's how so much of these agendas end up getting pushed. So, we'll see how far we get this time. But there's this zombified effect from, you put on your mask, you do this, you gotta just obey. Yeah, but what else are we being asked to comply with? What else in addition to it? Is it just that? I don't think so. Now, we've already rolled into the vaccination agenda. How far are we going to allow it to go? That's really my question. This is the best idea that I have. The big box retailers have made all kinds of money throughout this entire crisis. It's the small businesses that got really harmed, having to put up these plastic barriers, most ridiculous nonsense. I'm almost surprised in some ways that I've been able to make it this far. I'm not really sure what I get here. I mean, it's all GMOs. It's all, almost everything in here that's not, fresh or organic is a product of genetic modification, or GMO corn, GMO soy. It's pretty much in everything. GMO corn and GMO soy are the basis of all these food products. It's food science. Right now, I'm walking through the Publix here in Fort Lauderdale. Once again, I'm actually pretty surprised that I made it this far. I mean, so far, nobody's saying anything. But, I mean, again, we all were tricked into doing this because we thought it was for the common good. But it's been a year. I mean, they can't keep covering up what we already know. The reclassification of comorbidities and the reclassification of flu deaths is not a pandemic. It doesn't matter how many scary headlines that you run. It doesn't matter how many times you insist that there's a pandemic taking place. The numbers are not there. The facts are not there. The science is not there. Go look at the official numbers for flu deaths, for seasonal flu deaths. You're going to be pretty surprised by what you find. Because if you compare the numbers up till now for 2020 compared to 2019, you're going to be pretty shocked. Because no one's dying of flu all of a sudden. It's as if we've cured the seasonal flu. Can you imagine that? Well, that's not, of course, what's happened. What's happened is the reclassifying any kind of respiratory death. You gotta know. You gotta just look at these numbers. 2.9 million people die in the U.S. every single year. If you reclassify a fraction of those deaths, you can just say, "Oh my God, look, it's this brand new novel virus that's coming through. It's gonna kill everybody." And if apparently what we're learning is that if the media does this for a long enough period of time, it will actually be effective. I'm surprised, even a little embarrassed, at how effective this propaganda has been. And Florida gets all this coverage for being, wow, Florida's doing amazing, Florida's open. We're talking about, look at the three most populous counties. There's still mass maintenance in the three most populous counties. Small businesses are still shuttered. I still lost my favorite restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants, Sweet Tomatoes. Still out of business. I mean, what's that all about? Small businesses have been damaged, really, really harmed. And amidst all of this, and the major retailers, they've been fine. They haven't suffered one bit. So, I've seen very few commentators refer to this as exactly like the 2008 financial crisis, and yet it feels exactly like that, where you have the big banks and the corporations getting bailed out, and this is this. I mean, we were looking at the second bailout. Remember the first bailout? We had all those corporations, who had their lobbyists in place.
Use PIN pad to complete transaction.
Lobbying for millions and millions of dollars, and they weren't even losing out. They weren't even losing money, and they were getting bailed out. What was that, back in April, May? When was that original debate about the initial bailout? And now we're going to look past another $700-900 trillion bailout. It's exactly like 2008 all over again, top to bottom. All right, so as you can see, somehow I made it all the way through Publix. I got my granola bars. Eat your granola, non-GMO, and there you have it. I was not able to make it through Winn-Dixie. That turned into a confrontation, but I don't know. Somehow, maybe people are intimidated by the live stream. I'm as shocked as you are. We're going to archive this, and the point here is that this whole concept needs to go viral. I'm not talking about your small businesses. Some of the small businesses are still being fined. Look at Orange County, Florida. You've got Mayor Demings there fining small businesses. It's so punitive. It's like a form of punishment against any small business. It's really heartbreaking to watch. And honestly, it's seeing what's being done to small businesses that's caused me to hit my breaking point on all this. I don't like going around making a scene. I don't like cursing in the middle of a supermarket, making people uncomfortable. That's not my thing. But these mask mandates are themselves a form of confrontation. And we need to start pushing back against this. We cannot be that which is compliant on the world stage. The world is looking to us, and they're expecting us to eventually step up to the plate and start pushing back against this larger technocratic New World Order agenda that's behind all these small abuses like the mask mandates and the lockdown measures and what's being done to kids in schools. And so when I advocate pushing back, and I advocate pushing back starting against these mask mandates. We don't do masks anymore in 2021. Thank you, and stay in touch.